Alright, so this should be the beginning of a new Common Flock episode. So, yeah. I'm recording this before the draft. It is currently 2:27 Thursday, day of day one, and it's going to be interesting. I feel like it can go many different ways with this, and I talked about this a little bit on the stream yesterday when I was hanging out with some boys from the Discord, some OGs, Lindy and J-Fizz, which it was actually the first time we got to see him on camera. It was a great experience. We caught up, we talked. It's awesome. Go check it out. Go check their channels out. Sub to them. But anyways, so now we're here to talk about the draft round one. These are my thoughts before the draft. I'm gonna do this before. I'm gonna stream for the draft. I'm pretty sure, but this will be after. And then after, I will grab thoughts of what happened in the first round and everything. Probably just mostly stuff to talk about in the stream. A collective of thoughts there. And then I will do the same with a before and after for the podcast in round two, or for day 2 and day 3. And then this should hopefully come out the end of day 3 or the day after day 3 on Sunday. So, I'm making the most of my free time this weekend. But anyways, looking at the first round, there's so many ways Philly can go with this. You can go the Sidney Jones route if Farley falls very much tomorrow, but that's a whole other story. Could grab Farley in the first, trade down, grab Farley. Could also trade down, grab Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah, or stick where you are and grab Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah, somebody that I've been wanting Philly to get, and I hope they get. I really do. I'm really, really, really hoping they get Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah. But anyways, they could go and get Micah Parsons. They could get Devonta Smith. They could get what's his name? Horn, the corner, if he falls that far. Waddle, if he's still on the board. Same with Smith. Like I mentioned him, but I didn't say it's on the board. And a couple other guys that may be on the board by that time. They also could go the route of Kwity Paye, which people don't like. I get it. They don't want him. But with Brandon Graham on the other side, not getting any younger, and Fletcher Cox in the middle, not getting any younger, it's about time for some new guys in there. It is what it is. I'm not saying kick BG and Cox out. I'm saying bring guys in to be under them. Not only that, Paye and Graham both went to Michigan. I know it's not really parallel, but still. And I think if you bring Paye in, have him play on that other side, you lock down that other side for years to come, and you've got somebody on, and then you've got BG on his side for a while, so you can find somebody who can hold in there as a role player or a great player as a replacement, and then you can focus next year on a potentially strong defensive tackle class and get somebody to be the next Fletcher Cox, because you need it. This has been a team for years now that is built from the trenches and had a good defensive line and a good O-line. That's what they need to get. And that's why I'm not really opposed to any positions along the trenches right now, especially since it could be beneficial in the long run. And look at Lane's not getting any younger. Kelsey's not getting any younger, and he could retire any year now. Brooks isn't getting any younger. We need some guys for those spots to back them up for now and then eventually take over. We need to do that soon. I'm thinking we use the capital we've gotten up, deal off a couple guys here and there, a couple role players, camp bodies, whatever, to get the capital, get a lot of capital, and even some aging role players or stars. Ertz can go, I think, if the time is right and there's a big regression. One of these key pieces right now could go. I can see dealing one of the young wide receivers away if they needed to get capital for this offensive line, defensive line, or for a new receiver they like. Anything could happen with this team, realistically. In the first, I'm hoping for Owusu Koramoah, or I like Farley, but the problem is his injuries. It reminds people of a better Sidney Jones, and I get why. This team struggled with injuries and stuff, and that's on the strength and conditioning coaches, like I tell everybody. But sometimes you got to take a chance, for better or for worse. 2017 offseason, no, 2016 offseason was a great offseason. Everything paid off. The next offseason, the next two, nothing really paid off. We didn't see Deshaun. We didn't see Malik. Hargrave didn't perform that well. So much stuff that this is the next 2 years. You got to gamble at some points if you want success or failure. You got to gamble for it. And ultimately, I think no matter who they pick, somebody's going to be annoyed. But if they pick somebody who unanimously isn't wanted to be picked, which I get it, but if it's somebody that'll help out, I will take that first round pick. You got to look at it from a GM perspective too. But I have a feeling, depending on what pick Howie makes, there may be people with pitchforks, torches, and everything else outside the link, the NovaCare, and his house. But you never know. I will see you after the draft, actually. Because I got to record my second clip after the draft. So when I'm back, it'll be after. Alright. This is after day 3. Well, near the end of day 3. The Cardinals are currently up at 147 as I'm recording this. It's almost the end of the draft. I didn't end up recording between days 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, and I didn't stream for days 2 and 3 because I decided to change my mind about after and between the days, and I was over hanging out with Lindy for days 2 and 3, and I also wanted to cover the blue and gold game today, but I didn't end up doing it either, and I'll talk about that on the Golden Dome. I'll also talk about more in depth on draft picks and everything for Notre Dame guys later. And during the stream, or during the podcast, we should get news on UDFAs and where other guys could go. But anyways, welcome to Common Flock. I'm back. We just came off a long 6-hour stream. We did almost a 5-hour yesterday and a 6-hour today. And then I also did one for day 1, which was 4 or 5 hours. Oh, I am so tired out, but it's worth it. This only comes around once a year. I'm glad I could spend it with some other creators and some other guys like AK Eagles and Lindy and Jay Fizz, because these are some cool guys. You should go check them out. They're great. Even some others in the content creator community came in at points. I'm glad to have talked with a lot of them, and especially with Lindy and Jay Fizz, who are other PSN Discord OGs that I've talked with for a long time now, over a year, and probably a year and a half, almost, at least. So I'm glad I could, but let's get into the draft. Right now, it is on pick 249, and it goes till 259. LA's on the clock. Right now, still on the board, you've still got, at the quarterback position, you've still got Jamie Newman out of Georgia, 6'3", 234 quarterback. Felipe Franks, 6'7", 234 out of Arkansas. I say it both ways. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Shane Buechele out of SMU, a 6', 210 quarterback. Zach Smith, Tulsa, 6'3", 222 quarterback. And KJ Costello, 6'5", 227 quarterback. And Notre Dame's Ben Skowronek just went off the board to the Rams. Let's go. Anyways, at running back, you still got guys like Jamar Jefferson out of Oregon State. Jarrett Patterson has fallen way farther than I thought he would out of Buffalo, although I think he'll get picked by the end of the draft, hopefully. But if he doesn't, I hope he comes to Philly. Guy like Brendan Knox out of Marshall. Javane Hawkins, Louisville. Kylan Hill, Mississippi State, and a couple others still on the board as of right now. At receiver, you've still got Cade Johnson out of South Dakota State, Sage Surratt out of Wake Forest, whose brother got picked earlier this draft, Tyler Vaughn's, USC. USC's had a couple guys go this draft. Osiris Mitchell, Miss State. Tamorian Terry, Florida State. Javon McKinley, Notre Dame. Brandon Smith, Iowa. Siobhan Grimes, Florida. Brennan Eagles, Texas. And a bunch more. There's currently 23 wide receivers still not drafted, according to this, but there's probably more. Tight ends, you still got guys like Kenny Yeboah out of Ole Miss, who I didn't think would go this far down. Nick Eubanks, Michigan, sadly. I say that because he's a Michigan guy. And Matt Bushman, BYU, of the few guys still on there. 8 tight ends still here. There is only one fullback still on the board. There was 1 or 2 taken earlier, and that's Torrey Carter out of LSU. There is 5 offensive tackles on the board right now, still in the draft, according to ESPN. This is all according to ESPN, including Adrian Ely, Oklahoma, and Carson Green, Texas A&M. There is currently 9 guards still on the board, and defensive tackle Kairos Tonga out of BYU just went to the Bears. But got like Keod Awosika and Alaric Jackson are some of the 9 still on the board, including Tommy Kramer out of Notre Dame, who I think could get picked by the end of this. Who knows? I'm hoping he gets picked, although I'd love to see him come to Philly. There's 1 center still on the board in Drake Jackson. 4 defensive ends still on the board, including Malik Herring out of Georgia. There's 5 defensive tackles still on the board, including Marvin Wilson out of Florida State. There's currently 8 linebackers still on the board, including Dylan Moses, Justin Hillard, and Patty Fisher of Alabama, Ohio State, and Northwestern. In that order. You still got 5 outside linebackers on the board, including Hamilcar Rashad Jr. out of Oregon State and Grant Stewart out of Houston. There is 8 safeties, including Trill Williams of Syracuse and Adarius Washington of TCU. Chris Wilcox just went to the Bucs. Corner, BYU. 3 kickers still on the board, including Ryan Langan of Georgia Southern. Or no, that's long snappers. 4 kickers, including Jose Borregales. And 4 punters, including James Smith of Cincinnati. That is who's still on the board. It'll be interesting to see who falls into UDFA territory. No punters have been picked out. They're probably just going to be UDFAs. Going over the general order, I'm surprised Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle went 5 and 6 to the Bengals and Dolphins. And then you had Penei Sewell end up in the Lions. J.C. Horn went to the Panthers, and Pat Surtain went to the Broncos, which I didn't expect them to go back-to-back 8 and 9. Philly traded up to get Devonta Smith over the Giants, who were going to get him, who they then traded down to 20 with the Bears, who grabbed Justin Fields as the 4th quarterback off the board, because Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance went 1, 2, and 3, which I kind of thought was going to happen with Fields going 4, and then Matt Collins going 5, is in terms of quarterbacks going off the board at 15 to the Patriots, which someone I was talking to, a cousin of mine, called it that he was going to land in the Patriots' lap. Rashawn Slater went to the Chargers. Parsons went to the Cowboys, sadly, at 12. Zavion Collins went kind of high at 16, higher than I thought he would. Raiders got line help with Alex Leatherwood at 17. Jamin Davis went higher than I thought he would, inside linebacker. Giants drafted Kadarius Toney. You draft Kadarius Toney when you don't need a wide receiver. Kwity Paye went the next pick to the Colts. Farley dropped to 22 and went to the Tennessee Titans. Najee Harris went to a Steelers team who needs offensive line help more than a running back in the first. ETN went to the Jags, who are starting to kind of look stacked this year. And then I will note you had Odafe Owen and Joe Tryon go above Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah. I don't know why he dropped so far, but he did. And I was very angry when Philly didn't take him. In the second, Tyson Campbell went to the Jags. Elijah Moore to the Jets, which kind of surprised me. Javonte Williams went to the Bucks, and that kind of surprised me too because they got some running backs already. Philly drafted Landon Dickerson. I don't like the pick. He's already torn both ACLs. Chris Garrett just went to the Rams, linebacker. Concordia University, St. Paul. But I don't like the pick. He's already torn both ACLs. He's gotten 4 season-ending injuries over 4 years. And although he hasn't allowed a sack at Alabama, he also played on Alabama, which kind of explains a lot of it. And I mean, how much did he play? I haven't actually checked, so I'm not sure per season how much he played in the snap counts, but I still don't like the pick. I don't know if I will like the pick. It is what it is. Soon after, Liam Eichenberg went 42nd to the Miami Dolphins. It's a good pick. I like that he went there. He's in a decent place. Asante Samuel Jr., son of Asante Samuel, went 47th to the Chargers. And backtracking a bit, Trevor Moehrig dropped to 43 to go to the Raiders. The safety out of TCU. Aaron Banks went 48th to the 49ers, kind of high for what I thought he would go for. I thought he was going to be a third rounder. The Browns grabbed Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah at 52. They traded up to get him. Pat Freiermuth went 55th to the Steelers, who still needed O-line help. And at 57, Rams did take Tutu out. Well, I'm just noting some picks here. That's what I'm kind of doing. I should have clarified that earlier. Followed by Nick Bolton going to the Chiefs, which is a dangerous acquisition for the Chiefs. And Kyle Trask went to the Bucks, which could mean Tom Brady's out of there in a couple of years, or it just means they're putting somebody behind him that can learn, and he kind of fits someone who you could put behind Tom Brady and make him learn. Broncos took a linebacker or a defensive end. Marquis Spencer, defensive end, Miss State. But anyways, going back to the order. Pick 65, Andre Sisco went to the Jags, the safety out of Syracuse. Then you had 2 straight quarterbacks, and Kellen Mond go to the Vikings, which what does this mean for Kirk Cousins? It could mean he's gone soon. And Davis Mills goes to the Texans, which means they're prepping for Watson to go out. And there was actually a report that people are hearing that Deshaun's not going to play this year, which probably is what led to that pick. Looking down the line, Philly at 73 drafts Milton Williams. I still never will know who this is. I will not remember his name. I don't like the pick when you had guys like Benjamin St. Just on the board, who was a 6'3", 202 corner on the outside. And I could not stress this enough today. I said it in the Discord. I've said it to everybody. It doesn't matter how good your line is. It doesn't matter how good your defensive line is. You can have a stacked defensive line, but if somebody's getting the ball out quick, like a 2.5, like a 2.4, even a 2.3, which I think Roethlisberger had around a 2.3 last year, according to Next Gen Stats, if I'm correct. I'd take that with a grain of salt at this moment because I don't currently know that's the exact one, but I think it is. Or that's the exact number, but I think it is. I should be right. Looking at that he got the ball out quick, and your defensive line's not going to get there in 2.25 seconds and get him down. You're just not. I'm sorry. Pittsburgh made their selection of, what was it? A punter. It took the first punter off the board. Presley Harvin III out of Georgia Tech. But anyways, I shouldn't have said there's no punters because then somebody took a punter. But as much as you can stack your defensive line, it means nothing if you have no secondary. I get it. I have some trust in the linebackers, but you need somebody there to be your future. Singleton, Edwards are not your future. Nobody around them is your future. Davion Taylor, you still got to mold, and that's going to take years. He's got raw potential, but that's all it is right now is raw potential. You passed on Owusu Koramoah. You don't do that in the second. You don't. Sorry if my voice kind of sounds scratchy. I've been on stream for 5 and 6 hours alike this last 2 days. Then I also had the day 1 stream, so my voice may be a little bit scratchy. So I'm gonna take a drink here and there during the podcast. But you don't take an potentially injury-prone center when you've got Owusu Koramoah on the board. Well, you should have traded up to get him. And then they traded back in the third and got a defensive tackle who I can never remember his name without looking it up or looking at it. Who they may even move to defensive end. And like I was saying, it doesn't matter who you got on the... You could have the most stacked defensive line. But if you have no secondary, they can throw for 400 yards on you all day and it not make a difference. Saints took Kawan Baker out of South Alabama, wide receiver. But AK Eagles asked us a question in the stream, day 2. It was, if you add Aaron Donald to what it was at the end of day 2, would the defense... Would that be a monster defense? Would that be a great defense? No, because you've got no secondary. Could that carry you through the playoffs? No, it couldn't. You can have Aaron Donald add to this defensive line before day 3. Keep in mind, this is before day 3. I know some people aren't going to listen to me and hear that I said before day 3, but before day 3, if you look... Even potentially with day 3, I don't see this would be a great line with Aaron Donald added to it that could carry you into the playoffs. So what? It's more than a couple players that are gonna make your defense good. Your linebackers, you don't have a future at linebacker right now. Your TJ and Singleton are not gonna be your future. They're former UDFAs. They're not. There's the potential that they probably almost already reached their ceiling for all we know. But you've got to put something in your secondary, and you've got to put something at safety. You've also got to get some guys at linebacker, because sooner or later this linebacker core is going to collapse and regress and collapse. UDFAs can only carry you so far. Eric Wilson, yes, we brought him in, but he is the only real guy we've got on that. He's the only starter-worthy guy you've got here. If you take every other linebacker that there is theirs right now and try to put them on any other team this is before day 3, by the way, they're not going to start on any other team if you compared to their linebackers. No, it's only a Philly thing, and Howie doesn't value linebackers. That's the thing. After day 1, we were all pumped, excited. After day 2, actually through day 2, after the 3rd round pick, you could tell between me, Lindy, and AK Eagles that there was just a dark, depressive energy to it. We didn't like what happened. It is what it is, but we just didn't agree with it. And then you add on a chaotic day 3 where you didn't add anything to you added one corner, a safety who may be a linebacker. He's been called a linebacker. And you had a 3-4 outside linebacker. You got one guy who's not going to fit your scheme, one who is a potential sleeper, but he's a 6th-round pick, and another 6th-round pick. You can't gamble so much on 6th and 7th-round guys anymore in UDFAs. because Kalen Hill just got picked, running back, Mississippi State. You can't just focus on progressing through it. And somebody asked me, well, what about, because I said, I don't like these picks. I don't like getting defensive line and offensive line. Somebody said, oh, what about the future? We've got young guys on the offensive line. Everybody says Jeff Stoutland is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. And you pay him like one. Let him be that guy and develop your guys. Stop saying we need depth if you say he's one of the best to develop. Let him develop these guys. You guys forget that we have a very good offensive line that was a rotating carousel of people last year. You've got to remember when stable that offensive line is good. The defensive line, it's not as great. You've got an aging Cox and BG, but now's not the time to add to it. This is a weak defensive line class. You wait till next year with your 3 first-rounders and use them then. Jamar Jefferson just got picked running back, Oregon State to the Lions. You don't pick defensive line in a weak defensive line class, especially when next year you could get even more capital if you try to move Ertz if he performs well. And people say Ertz sucks now when it's just one bad year. Everybody has a bad year. Everyone's had a down year. You got to take it with a grain of salt. If he struggles again next year, everybody struggled last year. So if he struggles next year, yes, I get it. It's a bit more on him. He's struggling a bit more, and he's not as good. He was top 3 until this year, really, realistically. So why stop now? But the real thing that bothers me about this, a lot of picking, is you had so many guys drop that you didn't pick. Like, I'll go through the list now of more guys that were, dropping. Chaz Surratt dropped further than we thought he would. Hunter Long. Robert Hainsley did go at 95 to the Bucs. Notre Dame offensive tackle. Ifitu dropped farther than we thought he would. We were hoping he would make it. Baron Browning was at 105. Ifitu was at 101. I really wanted him. He's a Syracuse corner. I like Syracuse a bit. It's a hometown team, so I know a bit about their players. Amon-Ra St. Brown got picked at 112. I don't necessarily think he dropped, but that was around. I think it's a little bit further than I thought he would go. Jabril Cox dropped and then went to Dallas at 115. Chris Rumpf, Duke, dropped a little bit, 118. Philly then gets Zach McPherson, corner, 123, who has a connection to the team. Okay, I'm fine with that pick, but the problem is he's a 5'11", 191 corner. He's not built. He's built 5'11", 191. You really want to play him on the outside? Our 3 biggest corners are 6'1", 6 flat, and 6 flat. There was a couple guys where I'm sitting there. They're 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". I'm like, get these guys, please, because they're taller and you can play them better on the outside, and you're not gonna have a short guy on the outside situation. Nope. Ian Book did go at 133 to Saints. I don't know what that means for Winston. I don't know what that means for Hill. We talked about it on the stream yesterday, so you can kind of check out my reaction there, and I'll talk about it on the Golden Dome. So, the Buccaneers are last up right now. When their pick comes through, I'm going to just chug the rest of my root beer. So, if I take a moment of silence, it's because I'm chugging root beer. Linebackers did drop at one point a lot, and same thing with corners. And then there was a streak of them getting picked again. In the 6th, I think it was Kenneth Gainwell, that had the connection to Fletcher Cox. But still, I like the pick. But I think we could have used more of a power back in the position. I get it, yes, he's a guy who's got hands and everything, and he is explosive through the hole, and you can use him in the backfield. But we've got guys for that already. We need a power back. And they're not using Holyfield, and Howard's not the same back he used to be. You needed a power guy. Michael Carter II, the safety, dropped slightly. I mean, you had guys like Sean Wade drop to 160. Jamar Johnson at 164. Keith Taylor got picked at 166. Garrett Wallow got picked a little high at 170. Dalen Hayes went at 171. Notre Dame defensive end. I kind of like that pick. I'm glad he landed in a good defense. Somewhat good defense on a decent line. KJ Britt went at 176. Adetokunbo Ogundeji went at 182 to the Falcons. Notre Dame defensive end. I like that pick. The first fullback off the board was Ben Mason at 184. Nick Niemann went at 185. I mean, Joshua Bledsoe went at 188. And then we drafted Marlon Tiof, I don't even know how to pronounce it, at 189. And Taron Jackson at 191. Defensive tackle and defensive end. I don't know about those picks. I'm iffy on those. We've got to see what they can do on the field. That's all I'm going to leave it to. I want to see how they perform. If they suck, they suck. That's Howie's fault. I think I'll give my end of the draft grades soon, once I finish this up. I mean, you even had guys like Shea Smith dropped so far at 204. You had... And he's a wide receiver, but I get it. But he still dropped very much. Tay Gowan, cornerback out of UCF, dropped to 223. Right before Philly's pick, where they at 224, they took Corey Stevens. He was listed as a linebacker, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. He seems undersized if you're going to put him at linebacker at 6'1", 212. I'd rather not have an undersized linebacker again because people are going to complain about another Nate Gary situation. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I'd rather play him at corner because he'd be tall enough to play corner outside. And, I mean, you had Israel Mukamu, who I wanted, dropped to 227, and Thomas Graham Jr. to 228. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Grant Stewart, linebacker out of Houston, as the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, in the draft. The draft is officially over, and UDFA should be signed soon. This will probably break near the end of the show, or end of the podcast. And you had other guys like Brady Breeze did drop a little bit. I mean... Who was it? And then at 234, Philly took Patrick Johnson, who is a 6'2", 240 linebacker, outside linebacker. But he's a 3'4" outside linebacker. So that means he's probably going to be a defensive end, or it's going to be another Jannard Avery situation, which I don't know. I just don't know what you're going to do there. I think that might have been a slight reach for Howie. At 237, Kerry Vincent Jr. went. Corner. Mark Webb went 241, safety. James Wiggins, safety, 243. Ben Skoranek, like I noted, 249, wide receiver, Notre Dame. Good pick. Not the best landing spot, but hey, not the worst either. But there's so many that still dropped. And you've got guys like Shakur Brown is going to be a UDFA. Cade Johnson, Sage Surratt, Marvin Wilson, Dylan Moses, DJ Daniel, Trill Williams, I can't talk, Tyler Vaughns, Adarius Washington, Brian Mills, Hamilcar Rashad Jr. These are guys that we were talking about. Tamorian Toney, Patty Fisher, Jamie Newman. These are guys that we were talking about during the draft that were like, these guys could go here, here, and here. Or we want enter guy A here. Or we wanted guy B here. though some of those guys dropped in or not UDFAs, so now it's like, come on, UDFAs, let's see who we get. And I don't know when that's going to break. You can sign them right after. I'm going to wait and see what Philly does. They could break any moment now. We're currently we're a little over 30 minutes through, I think. My overall grade is a C- is the best I can do. I have not a lot of confidence in the D-line depth. And this backup center for Kelsey, I get it. But I think you could have waited next year. And a lot of people were talking about versatility to this draft. If you wanted versatility, why not draft Owusu Koramoah? Why would you I get it. You want someone. And Philly said, oh, that center that's injury prone that we drafted in the second, I don't even remember his name. He's going to start, or he's not going to have a redshirt year. I'm like, what does that mean? Who are you going to sit? I'm like, you're not sitting Kelsey. You're not sitting Brooks. You're not sitting Lane. You're not sitting Mailata. So does that mean you're sitting Isaac Seumalo and putting him back at center? Because that was a bad idea. So what, are you going to put him on the bench as a guard? He hasn't been superstar level, but he's been good. He's been great. He's been mostly consistent, and he's been mostly healthy. Otherwise, here and there, some injuries. But that's how most of our line's been. Lane's still got his ankle that is probably going to get hurt again this year. Act up. Brandon Brooks, he's an android coming off the second torn Achilles. He almost made it back in the season, but I'd worry a bit more about him just because it's his second. Something could happen again to him. You never know. He's had 2 season-ending injuries. And Mailata's the only consistent one. And then you've got slight depth that I'm like, you keep relying on 6th and 7th round guys. It's good. Your talent pool is going to dry up, and you're going to stop hitting on picks. That's how it is. And if you look at, what is going to happen to guys like Ertz and stuff? Well, looking at Ertz, I think Ertz is going to... Honestly, I think Ertz is going to stay for another year and then get traded. I think you save him. Like I said, 1 bad year does not make you horrible. I think you wait a year, see what you've got, and then potentially try to deal him. Same goes for, looking at guys like Dillard. Dillard, I think, can go. People are split on him. I don't think you need to keep him here. I know he's not going to beat Mailata. People are like, oh, we'll put him in over Mailata. You're going to sit Mailata? Really? You're going to sit Mailata? Well, then what was the work that Stoutland did for 4 years to turn this kid from 7th round rugby player into a tackle? You're telling me you're putting in that work just to sit him? No, you're going to play him, whether you like it or not. Although Howie wants to be that guy, and he wants to double down on his picks, you've got to admit it at some point. The ego's getting too big for you, too. You got to sometimes just let go of your ego and pick for your needs and pick what guys you need to just... You got to pick what guys you want playing, but you've got to do it to the best of your ability. You can't go off ego. You've got to let some things go. I'm waiting for people to show up outside the NovaCare and be like, what are you doing? Because that's what I would do. That's what I would love to do if I was in the Philly area. Go up and be like, hey, what are you doing? Because nothing's working right now. I don't even want to get into it from the stream. I don't even want to go there, but I'm going to. It was stressful. It was a dark mood near the end of last night's stream. And at some points in today's stream, it was a very dark mood. Like, it was just depressing, and deep down, you knew it. It's not going well. I don't know what's going on with Howie. He didn't reach, which is good as much, but I just don't... I don't know anymore with him. I don't. I think he should be gone. His contract ends this year. If he's re-signed, I think there's no hope. There's no hope. If he's not re-signed or he's fired or something happens after this year and Lurie makes him leave, which I don't think he will, that would be the greatest thing for Philly fans, probably. Over 3 coaching staffs, what has been the consistent problem? Or there's been a consistent problem. Don't you think you got to look at the GM at one point? He was here during the end of the Andy Reid era. He was here for Chip Kelly. He was here for Doug Peterson, and now he's here for Nick Sirianni. So if Nick doesn't work, who are you going to throw it back on? You can't throw it back on anybody. Wentz is gone. Doug is gone. You're not going to throw it on Nick. You're not going to throw it on his coaching staff. That would be screwed up, number one. Number two, I get it, it's a business, but you're still not going to... You've got nobody to throw it on. You're done. You've got to take the blame sooner or later, whether you would like it or not. You've got to take the blame. That's how it works. And if he finds a way to avoid it, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what my reaction's going to be. But anyways, this was kind of a quick episode. I just wanted to talk about the draft and everything. I will talk in depth more about the blue. I will talk about the blue and gold game, and I will talk in depth about every Notre Dame selection and those who didn't get selected in that. Anyways, I just wanted to get this out. I will see you guys next time on the Common Flock. Hopefully Howie does not screw over this team again.